mystery of the origin of life is still not conquered by scientists. We can launch ships to other planets, watch movies with Ryan Gosling from anywhere on Earth, and even explode king bombs. But how to cause a spark in a bunch of chemical elements that will turn them into at least the simplest single-celled bacteria, it's still a mystery to us. From the point of view of biology, we understand it so poorly. But from the point of view of history, we know a lot about the birth of life on Earth. Even the approximate place where it happened about this and many other things we will talk about in the next couple of minutes. Officially, the oldest known evidence of life on Earth are fossils in Western Australia, where in the Bar Peel region there are rare deposits of basalt straight out of the distant past, which is scary to think about. The apex basalts are estimated to be up to 3.8 billion years old, and within them are found rare deposits of basalt 8 billion years old, and 11 different samples of fossilized microbes have been found inside them with an age of 3.3 billion years. The Earth is just over 4.5 billion years old. It's just that it's almost impossible to find rocks from those times. Too much water has passed, volcanoes have exploded, tectonic plates have moved, asteroids have arrived with enviable regularity. In general, these are the oldest living organisms only because it is very difficult to get to older ones, but it is possible in the hydrothermal vents of the belt with the cute name Novwogitic, and Canada found microorganisms whose age is tentatively 4.2 billion years old. Now the information is verified. But most scientists agree that after the formation of the ocean on Earth 4.41 billion years ago, life probably appeared almost immediately. But why in the ocean? Here we will encounter the first myth that sits in the heads of most people. Almost all of us intuitively believe that water is life. So life was born in water simply because there is no other way. In reality, everything was different. But from the point of view of biology, life could appear in coastal areas, and in the ocean life was born in the first place not because of its chemical features, but because underwater is banally safer. The Earth 4 and a little billion years ago was a hell of a place. Let's start with the fact that just recently it collided with the planet. All of us subconsciously think about life and imagine conditions similar to Earth, but the reality is that even on our Earth, life appeared when it was more similar to some star with its extreme conditions. To understand how the first life developed in them, scientists Luca stands for the last universal common ancestor. Luca was born when biologists checked the DNA of all life on Earth and collected matching genes. They came out 355, and to model a specific living organism from this is unrealistic. There is not even a hint of fossils and the first living organism on Earth. We just know that these 355 genes to everything that in any form now lives on Earth was given by a common ancestor. Most likely he was not the first living organism either, but from Luca it is not required. You do not even need to know what he looked like. Just look at his genes to see what they are responsible for and key characteristics of Luca, and it will become clear. Having done this, scientists have come to the conclusion that our common ancestor lived in very hot places where there was no oxygen, but there was plenty of hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and iron, and the onion got energy by decomposing chemical elements. Where to find all this in water? The best candidate is hydrothermal springs, or simply speaking, underground volcanoes. It is logical to assume that if they were abundant on the surface, then underwater there is no less. Only there they create areas of warm water, scattered with elements that can be broken down and eaten. And what is most important in these elements, their organics paving the red carpet for the emergence of life. It boils around thermal springs underwater, and now unfortunately the seabed is studied even worse than Mars, so the information from there is just crumbs. But in brief, somewhere halfway from New York to Africa, there is a site that scientists call the Lost City, a hydrothermal field at a depth of 700 meters where 60-meter columns of hydrocarbons, scientists compare them to the hands of the Creator, which break out from under the earth to breathe into the ocean of life, and not to say that they are far from the truth. Modern science believes that it was in such ecosystems billions of years ago that the first living beings on the planet got the conditions for life. Right now, it is quite possible that their relatives on Enceladus or Europe are doing the same thing, but it is not certain that life geographically originated in the Lost City. But as a premier reference point, we will focus on it and another much more important issue. With the help of Luca, we have found out when and where the first organisms could live. We also know that later cyanobacteria will surface on the ocean surface and start photosynthesis and cause our Luca and his comrades the first global extinction due to the increase of oxygen in the atmosphere. This event in history is called the oxygen catastrophe, and it made the Earth suitable for the emergence of complex species like you and me. But all of this is really trivial. Much more interesting is where the onion and other first living organisms came from. It's one thing to know what they ate and where they lived, but to find out how exactly they came to be is a task of a different level, the answer to which scientists have no answer, and there are 2 global chairs to sit on, 3 to be exact. But the theories involving gods we will not touch for the time being. The remaining 2 chairs are the chair of ridiculous chance and the chair of the laws of nature. We will try to explain them without RNA, DNA, and other complex things. The first theory of ridiculous chance states that life on Earth arose due to the coincidence of hundreds, if not thousands, of factors: the temperature in an underwater geyser, sky greenery, oxygen, drinking water. We have appeared much later than in life at the time of its origin. The Earth was not particularly different from its neighbors in the solar system. Moreover, there is every reason to believe that in some periods the conditions for life in our modern understanding on Mars and Venus were much better than ours. 2 or 3 million years ago, there and there flowed oceans. The atmospheres of the planets were not particularly inferior to the Earth. The fact that specifically now we are doing better in part and is a consequence of work on Earth in general. Any of the scenarios involving asteroids, coincidence of circumstances, and aliens are essentially accidental, because it was possible to populate other worlds, paradoxically. But despite the absurdity of this option is believed by most of the inhabitants of the planet, mainly again due to the lack of understanding that life is not necessarily resort conditions like the current, terrestrial. Among scientists, in turn, dominates another theory of fundamental laws of the universe. It does not require a trillion coincidences. According to this theory, the mechanism of the emergence of life is the same in the whole cosmos, just we have not reached it yet. As a consequence of the system, oceans scientists of 99% probability declare the presence of life there not because of faith, but precisely because of unwillingness to represent the Earth, something unique conditions of these celestial bodies are not particularly worse or better than those in which at one time we have appeared life, such a theory of cosmic equilibrium. So why should we be unique in general? This is a question of philosophy, and we will leave it to you to discuss in the comments. Here we will end with the fact that life on our planet most likely existed for 95% of its life, or even more. It started with despite the absurdity of this option is believed by most of the inhabitants of the planet, mainly again due to the lack of understanding that life is not necessarily resort conditions like the current, terrestrial, underground hot springs, and continued with hot women in Japanese cartoons. See you later, friends.